For a long time, we didn't talk about immigration here at all, and I think there was a reason for that. I don't think it was some kind of censorship. I think it is a sensitive issue, and I think it has to be handled very sensitively. But we do have a situation where we have had quite a large amount of immigration in a relatively short period of time. A lot of that's to do with Ukraine, but there are obviously people from other parts of the world coming as well. And indeed, I think there's going to be more, Shane, not just because Ukraine isn't anywhere close to resolution, but because, as people like Roderick O'Gorman have pointed out, things like climate migration is going to become an increasing issue as people flee parts of the world that are becoming unlivable due to floods and temperatures and all sorts of things. So they're going to come here, and I think how we manage that becomes key, because it is without a shadow of a doubt the situation in many communities that genuine, decent people in those communities who may have concerns about certain things that are happening, that those concerns are being exploited by other groups. I think that's without a shadow of a doubt. There are people who are loving this and are using this for their own ends.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
I think that's fair to say. But I also think that there are people who, and we've spoken to them here in the program, people from Killarney, people from Kildare, people from East Wall, people from North Strand, people from Ballymun, who are not racist, who are not people who are like, we don't want to have a single refugee in this country, who are just kind of going, we're not sure how to manage this. So I do think that we need to engage a kind of a national conversation that is respectful and decent, but I also think that we need to have consultation with communities and things like that, because otherwise, in a vacuum, Shane, I would be afraid of what will grow.
I'm always sceptical when I hear it. It kind of reminds you a little bit like during the pandemic, we'd lots of journalists kind of writing columns and toning, we need a plan for what we're going to do in 6 months' time. Like, you can't and we now know you can't really plan that much during a pandemic because things happen, and I just think it's a little bit like that with particularly like the war in Ukraine. How do you plan for what have we, 50,000 refugees?
It's up nearly
70,000 refugees. How do you plan for that? And you are going to upset some people, and there is going to be a case of we've got a week to find something for these people, and I'm not sure you can go in and start having kind of heartfelt discussions with everybody in the locality. Are you okay with this? What do you need from us?
I get what you're saying, and I do get what you're saying, but I think what we need is maybe even broader than that, Shane, a national conversation about the fact that whether we see, we're not used to hearing it because we hear that we're a disgrace and the country's a kip all the time, but that as a wealthy country, one of the wealthiest countries
that people want to come
that the OECD groups, that people want to come here, and that people are fleeing very often humanitarian crises, even though they are sometimes being painted as something wholly different, but they are. And I think that we're going to have a conversation about the fact that the face of Ireland is going to change a little bit, and the makeup of Ireland is going to change a little bit.
It has
but it's going to change more, and we need to talk about how to manage it. If you don't talk about it, you're going to end up with situations, and the situations exist in other countries where there is tensions, and I don't think we want that.
Yeah, I just worry that protests, relatively small protests, however unpleasant they may be and however ugly they may be, I don't really want them setting the narrative for debate and setting the narrative for discussion.